Welcome in, everybody. We're switching up the casting duo. It's me, Red Broke with my right. You just saw the conclusion. We've got the final two games of the night coming your way. And we're going to be seeing, for our first game here, we're going to be seeing SSGA take on Team SESH. And we're also going to be seeing Fluffy Aimers later on take on Mormon Battalion. And as we start to do this, all four of these teams have qualified. It's whether who's going to be in last chance qualifier and who's going to be automatically qualified. Currently, SSGA, Fluffy Aimers, they're tied right now for that. Mormon Battalion, they're only back by 1 point behind those two. Team SESH, they've got to win and then hope some results kind of go their way in terms of round count. So Team SESH probably won't qualify, but they could potentially help Mormon Battalion get in there and maybe send SSGA or somebody down into the plan. So really, there's going to be some battles. All four of these teams are going to be fighting. There's stuff on the line. These aren't just games per se. But Goose, let's go ahead and let's take a look at our first team, SSGA. And this team, they've been changing and changing. Who are you looking at specifically?
I'm looking at Rampy, and I can finally say it. Bay is gone. He's gone up to the league, has joined Wildcard, and that is a huge piece, if not the main piece, missing from SSG Academy. And I saw, in my opinion, a very lackluster performance from Rampy, especially I know him as a player. I know exactly how he plays, and he just wasn't playing into his full potential. And SSG Academy wasn't really doing a great job, especially in a lot of the times when he was in an entry position, weren't really putting him in the most favorable positions. And that's why you do see, they tend to really trend down overall and potentially could be knocked into the play-ins here. But nonetheless, their opponents on the other side who are potentially looking to go on a miracle run into playoffs is going to be Team SESH.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a like-for-like switch. Rampy for Bay getting called up to the big leagues. As for Team SESH, this is a team that had to wake up yesterday and get big wins to get into this qualifier. They've made it. Now, their chances of getting in automatically into top three, unlikely. They're going to have to get round count going their way, which they can do. So they need a big win today. And now looking at this lineup, I feel like this might be an uphill battle. However, this is an SSGA team that has just changed things. So they might be able to catch this new team out.
Yeah, Team SESH, especially in the past 2 weeks, even in, the wildcard restart, have really gone into an uphill trend. And again, it's going to depend simply on the map. This is a best of one. It is really the perfect opportunity, the perfect setting to really get an upset. But there's just so much they really need to do here. And our decider is going to be Chalet. I really like this choice. Not only that, but Team SESH, they actually get to start on the attack, which we saw yesterday was actually the favored side.
And it's just going to be, for me, about how fast can you get these new guys on the page. JetCon, he has been subbing whilst they're trying to find their fifth. He's now going to be out of the picture for the future. He's going over to Akron and focusing on his schooling with the Zips.
Yeah,
and I know there's some scaringness. I was talking to Jabates the other day, and he was like, oh, man, I mean, it's scary, but I was able to bet in really quickly, and I think he's trying to hope that this team can create a similar atmosphere that Jabates experienced when he joined in. A lot of question marks for SSGA, and not only is this a battle for top three, but this is a day for SSGA to maybe answer some of those questions. And Team SESH, I mean, they pulled off a miraculous run. Hopefully they can keep it going. I think them getting top 5 was the goal, and everything else now is just going to be a cherry on top.
Yeah, I really do think I agree with that. And also, it is better to just simply get perhaps a better seed in the play-in also. But yeah, talking back about SSG's game yesterday, again, it was lackluster, and I did say that, in my opinion, I think they just need a little bit more time to mesh, to really mix with each other, especially bringing in such a, not necessarily big system player, but Rampy just has a very big personality. And a lot of the times it is a little bit hard for him to buy into a system, which is probably why we saw him have some difficulties yesterday. But as soon, and if they even can find a way to activate Rampy, that's when it's going to get very scary.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the dude's going to be so motivated after being dropped to bounce back. And this is a great opportunity for him to show, like, hey, you guys might be missing me. I mean, Team SESH, them beating Fluffy yesterday was massive, 7-3. keeping themselves alive, as well as making life a little bit interesting for Fluffy in their next game. We're going to head into the bans here, and remember, folks, this is a new look SSGA. Are we going to see maybe new strats to accommodate these players? We could be seeing completely different things. Dokkaebi is going to be the first ban. And Bay was a flexible player, and I'm curious, is Rampy a similar operator pool to the table?
Team SESH, going for relatively the exact same bans. They've actually sometimes let that Monty slip through their ban phase, so it is a little surprising that they're going to be actually the ones to take him off the board. But again, SSG Academy changing nothing too different this time around, just trying to keep it to the basics. Valkyrie, though, that is an operator that they notoriously have banned on the defense quite a bit, so that could potentially give them a little bit of leeway on this last ban. And yeah, again, this is kind of just a testing phase. Even if they do get knocked out, they'll be in the play-in, which, in my opinion, obviously they're not completely... there's not a complete endless chance of them losing, but they do have a very good chance to get out of that play-in position. But again, obviously you do want to stay in the playoffs. You just simply don't want to have to worry about that. But again, it's just simply these players that they simply have a problem activating. That's continued to be the problem for them.
It is a chance to get the automatic playoff position on the line for our final 2 games of the XGS group stage. It's all coming your way. It's going to go fast in these 2 best of 1, so make sure to stay locked in. Now, next Monday is when the last chance qualifier is happening, so make sure to tune in next week as well. But we're going to begin with SSGA. They're on the defense, going for a first floor site setup to begin. And looking at both sides in terms of the operator selections, nothing's really catching my eye, and nothing crazy right off the rip. And everybody, you got to keep your eyes. What's Rampy doing? He's going to be on the castle today. What's his impact going to be looking like now that he has to come down and try to reprove his worth?
Yeah, Rampy has really fallen into that flex role, just simply playing any operator that his team needs. And what I really love about Chalet too is it's a flexible map. There are certain operators, like you're seeing, you don't really see a whole lot of Frost. You don't see a whole lot of Maluzi or potentially even a Brava. So these are just really operators and just lineups that you see that really cater to the overall playstyle that Chalet brings you. And I think that's a really good system. It's a very set system that Rampy can potentially play, and maybe even have a couple of rad spots. You have Mike W, but it's Jabates to be taken out first from a nice shot from space. If you're SSG Academy, you cannot let those kills, those really easy picks that you just simply should not be given away, go to the way of your opponents.
Yeah, the sniper catching out Jabates space. Yeah, they were not ready for the snipe shot coming through. They're going to see SSG. They're going to play a little bit more scared. And Team SESH putting a lot of pressure on this top floor. C4 out from Focal. Doesn't connect onto anyone. It might have actually been shot. I didn't hear it really go off. Some progress being made by Team SESH into the building, but they've got to deal with some of these mute cameras. Is there any EMPs maybe? They maybe deal with that. Godville is going to get the knock onto Neo. Neo's going to hit the floor, and now it's an even man count. There's still a minute 30 left. And Team SESH are putting a lot of resources to get upstairs.
Yeah, it has wasted so much time for them, and they haven't really gotten anything for it. They haven't gotten any control in Solarium. They haven't pushed out that player inside of Kitchen, and they're still just on these rappels, hoping that they can potentially find an opening, or that rather, that SSG gives them an opening, and they continue to peek space, and space, he's not letting up.
Yeah, they saw the shoulder blade of Ramp. Focal's gonna drop, so it leaves it all down to Godville and Mike W now. Space finds Ramp, and it's now Mike in a 1v4. 50 seconds left. There's plenty of time for Team SESH. Just do your drones, figure out where this last player is. Don't want to sell anything too much for him. Mike W, the new player, in a chance to clutch up. Not going to happen, and it's an attacking win for Team SESH. Remember, folks, if they can get a big round count win, they might be able to swing that back in their favor. Fluffy Aimers, let me double check. They've got a +2 round count. As for Team SESH, they have a -4. Now, it also depends on what happens in the Fluffy Mormon Battalion game. Who knows? That might be able to swing their way, but so far they're off to a great start at trying to do so.
Yeah. Again, it really, even if they do win this matchup in a convincing fashion, it really just comes down to chance. So you can really just play this game and just go for the win. Either way, it's simply better just for the mental, and also just better for just really finding that success that you really do need. And that was a great round. At SSG Academy, just really playing too coy, not moving around a whole lot, taking a lot of questionable swings. And it's very similar to what we saw yesterday. And I don't want to continue to say that this is just SSG going through growing pains, because these are players who are experienced, especially a player like Rampy. And you can only really say that for so long. And I may be a little bit too harsh on them, but just with this caliber of roster, especially with the mixture of personalities, in theory, it really shouldn't necessarily be this bad. I do think they should have a little bit more success. Again, if you're an unorthodox team like Team SESH, that's going to really punish you for playing a little bit too safe, not going and applying that pressure, you're going to really feel the need of it.
You're also unaware of what happened in Group B. That group is finalized. Thrive, Unks, and Wildcard Aces all take the top 3 spots. That group was really chaotic because Aerial Arise ended up finishing 6th and being just straight up eliminated, with Carnico and Chocket advancing through. Now into this round, we've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock for Team SESH to try and work an attack going, and it looks like DK, he is just lighting up these walls, trying to make a way into the site. SSGA, what's their adjustments going to be looking like? They now have Godville with the Boss G on the roam. Maybe trying to come some hack into the Team SESH team. Maybe think some type of strategies they want to push. Debates, however, upstairs is charged with holding library. There's a lot of work to do. Still plenty of time for Team SESH to take their time and figure out where these plays are.
Yeah, the big opening by Neo, and they're just trying to get this swing out. And again, another one. Just complete dismantle. But eventually, Badger is down. But the players on SSG Academy, they continue to fall.
It looks like a Frost Mat is going to hit Badger and be the reason he falls. Godville is going to make it a little bit more doable for his side. It's now a 2v3. They know where Godville's positioning in. He's going to be the last player. He's not really towards. He's going to have to start moving. He thinks someone's over by K9. Views are going down. Godville is now have to retake the site. Going to hear this drop, I'd imagine. Lunar from outside shuts it down. Team SESH, they continue to roll on this new look SSGA team. They're not finding their groove. The team chemistry isn't there yet in these opening rounds.
Again, it was relatively the exact same problem that we saw in the very first round. Just not enough movement at the exact right time. And it really, because you don't move in the early round and you don't apply that pressure and you give too much respect to the attack, they're able to take so much space in that library, get the opening pick, and then after they got those 2 opening picks, we're able to set the crossfire to catch off those 2 players after that. And it just really is SSG Academy playing into the overall aggressive push style that we're seeing from Team SESH. If Team SESH will focus on a specific point, drone out, do everything in their power to get as much intel as possible, and then they'll put all their focus onto one point around the map. And it really just seems like SSG isn't exactly realizing that, but nonetheless, they're not realizing the points that they're attacking. They're not reading this attack relatively well, and that's the exact same problem that we saw yesterday. It just is a little bit disappointing to see a lot of these big overarching problems that's really just a problem with the system that's set up, continuing to linger on into these later matchups.
On that previous defense, Neo did very well to get those 2 kills, but there wasn't a load of pressure onto Library. He was able to get into that room for free. And then I believe it was Debates who tried to challenge him. It didn't really go his way as he got shut down. I mean, if SSGA can maybe just stop them from getting into the little bit more, some more resources, put some manpower inside, they might be able to slow that push down and keep Team SESH at bay. But still, a great start to life for Team SESH and our final game of XGS Season 7, or final 2 games, I guess I should be saying. It's the clash that's going to be brought out for SSGA. Debates is on the roam upstairs. Can he potentially find anybody that's also out? It looks like Vil is also being tasked with going on a little trip around Chalet. 2 minutes on the clock, though. Nobody's down just yet. Team SESH taking their time, their sweet, sweet time. And then, I mean, they've got SSGA really trying to rethink these things now that we're in basement.
I'm really confused by this push, because aside from Lunar, there's no one upstairs. You have one player outside of Trench, and then everyone else... Well, okay, I guess you have... Yeah, you have Neo over by main, you have Lunar by top west, and then you have TK. And it really feels like they were trying to hammer on to this specific point, that being this blue wall. And because they just found this hard rock wall of the just wall being reinforced and electrified, on top of that, the hatch too, there's just not really a whole lot that they can deal with. And they've scrambled to take this position. And because of the fall off, it's really given that control, but they simply just didn't throw out that Capcan trap. And Jabase is going to be continued to allow to play in this spot over here. Not really necessarily a whole lot of control for Team SESH, and a lot of potential for SSG Academy to retake the space upstairs by Kitchen.
Yeah, you even have the IQ to try and find those Capcan traps. It's not going to happen. Bazure is shut down now. We're into double digits on the clock, and still Team SESH, they haven't been making a load of progress towards this site. Jubarel still has one more freeze canister to potentially use. The Focal, he has a lot to do. Are they going to get a freeze canister onto that wall? They might not really care for it too much, because remember, Focal can put a lot of pressure. But TK finds Ramp. Rampy's 0-3. He hasn't been able to find a kill on the 2 team, but Jabates, the ankles are gone for Team SESH, courtesy of Jabates. That's his first 2 kills of the game, courtesy of the traps. Mike's now got to find a kill. So SSGA, it looks like they're going to finally get a round. Now a C4 from Jabates. Can he get a 4th kill in the round? Massive round from Jabates. He used all of his utility to get those kills. He had the traps, he had the C4, and the final one is going to come with the primary. SSGA, they're going to stop the bleeding temporarily, but still there's questions about this team, and they don't look particularly convincing.
My question is, what was that attack? I really don't understand that. They didn't get snowmobile wall whatsoever. They just kind of just were hitting their head against a brick wall, and their entire wind factor, their entire entry point into the main points of the map was those 2 walls over by Wine and then Wine Door. They didn't try to get hatch open, and even if they did, they didn't utilize it. They didn't try to clear out main. They sent Neo over there for a couple of seconds, but then eventually he fell off. And it just felt like a very lazy attack from them. I understand you're up 2-0, and again, basement bomb site is statistically one of the least favored, if not the least favored bomb site for this entire map, aside from top. But again, it's just really questionable and a lot of lazy attacking there that we didn't see a whole lot. You know, not to say that they had a lot of adaptation on their other rounds, but we just really didn't see anything there. So relatively an easy round for SSG Academy to read and encounter. But again, the question now is, if Team SESH can start to ramp up that adaptability, change up on the fly, will SSG Academy be able to read into it and counter it?
All right, we've played a quarter of this map. SSGA, they only were able to scave away with that 3rd defense in basement. We're going to go back to kitchen site. And there are some adjustments coming from SSGA this time around. Mike W is going to be bringing the Thorn into play. We're trying to catch out Team SESH that they tried to make an entry. We're going to see that Captain once again from space. Early Pickett had onto, I believe it was Jabates early in that one, so he might be able to cause some havoc with the sniper rifle again. Space doing a quick jiggle peek around that corner. This is going to be slow, and Team SESH adjusts from that previous attack. You mentioned how poor it was from them. Is there going to be any sort of bounce back / adjustment? There's no Capcan, so they've got that going for them at least.
I mean, there isn't necessarily really an adjustment. You're going to open the wall. You have this player over by trophy window, and it's relatively the exact same. Their entire focus is getting the Solarium control to convert it into that top vertical control, and we're just not really seeing a whole lot from SSG to necessarily counter it. Skunks will go out. This will allow those SSG players to even rotate. One runs outside, tries to get a kill, unsuccessful. But right now, SSG Academy not really feeling a whole lot of heat. Team SESH trying to fall back a little bit, trying to get as much intel as possible. And right now, against relatively slow attack.
Yeah, they know somebody's in bathroom, though. Debates is going to fall, so Team SESH has the man advantage. But the Frost is not the biggest player to lose in this late game scenario. Massive shots coming deep from Mike W, but Foco is going to be immediately found out. So still, Team SESH are keeping their man advantage. But Rampy's finally going to get on the board for SSGA. That's his first kill for his new team. It's now 3v3. SSG, they're trying to hold on for dear life. 50 seconds. What it look like upstairs? Do they have any players that can maybe deny the vertical play from Team SESH? And Mike W checks the wrong corner. He's going to fall. It's all down to Vil and Rampy. Left in a 2v3. 30 seconds on the clock. Godville is upstairs. He might be able to deny anybody that tries to push from above. Or if they do go to site. I don't think there's really anybody from Team SESH that's now upstairs. So that might have a lot of player focus come down to Rampy. Wait, is Rampy upstairs too? There might be a full upstairs play. Here comes the plant from Badger. 15 seconds on the clock. Shut down immediately from Godville. 2v2. They know that the diffuser is there, so if he hears any sort of sound cue, he can just go right on back to it. 2v1. It's all down to Godville. But if he can figure out where this diffuser is, he can stop it. It's good about to come through. Godville with the shot! Clutches the round. And despite there still being a player alive for Team SESH, this clock expires. And the play from above, Godville's God did. DJ Khaled. Whew, SSGA, that was a big round. They've got 2 now under their belts. They've got some momentum going their way. We've got Rampy on the board. So things are looking much better for SSGA.
Yeah, that was just a very good IIQ read. He knew exactly that he was most likely going to plant in that default, or secondary default, rather. Default being on the actual A bomb inside of kitchen, and then he just kind of assumed and hoped rather that there was going to be the planter there, and then he was. It was a not necessarily lucky, but a very graceful read of that situation. But again, Team SESH relatively are playing every single attack round, especially on that top floor clear, relatively the exact same. They try to put these pressure points around the windows in the doorways, trying to catch off SSG Academy. And then once SSG Academy feels the pressure and tries to fall back to the site, that's when those crossfires start to reap their rewards. And it's really just, I'm confused why they're not reading it. It's one of those situations where not only has it been done before, it's a lot of times how teams, especially in the T2, T3 scene, will play Chalet. They're just really, it's that lack of reading capability that we're not seeing here.
And it felt like Team SESH had control of upstairs, and then they had to go to site, obviously, and it seemed like it just went right on back to SSGA. And that seemed to be the big factor in that game. Team SESH wasn't able to do anything for those guys that were up above. They did fight Rampy, but God, they'll still continue to rain on bullets through the ceiling. Now looking at this, an adjustment here to keep debates inside of library. So they know, hey, there's a doc in the corner of library. He's in that power position. Because this, I mean, it was immediately given up last time around. It seems like Debates is going to try and shut this one down. He's now going to start getting burned and found out. The team's ready in a 5v3, and we haven't even hit the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, a very questionable decision is going to lead to his life gone in this position. This control of the map is just completely gained, but Space oversteps his welcome and is caught out by Godville. A great job of a retake, and eventually a lot of focus to try to hold on to this control upstairs from Rampy and Godville. This is going to give a problem to Team SESH that they haven't necessarily had to deal with a whole lot this entire game. Is SSG Academy retaking space they've gotten, and a very good crosshold here that really cuts off the players from Team SESH.
3v4, a minute 30 on the clock. Team SESH started off electric, but then Godville was able to find stepping space. Still, Team SESH, they're worried about this player that's on the Mira. Is that fire going to get inside? Yeah, they force out Mike W. So beautiful Capital plays coming in from Badger to help out Neo. It's now all down to Rampy. Team SESH, they continue their streak on this site. And we go back to upstairs with Debates on the dock in the corner. I felt like the play was for him to try and outlive the fire with stim pistols. But it looked like he wanted to be aggro and take the player on the window. Didn't work out. Yeah, and it's a questionable decision. So SSGA, they're not going to have another shot at it unless we do go overtime. But they're going to want to try and maybe reconfigure how they want to approach taking that site, because they've really struggling to hold library.
Again, it is very questionable. Also, a very questionable play is Neo on the sledge. That one I don't get a whole lot. You know, obviously, you know, you have both the nades and the flashbangs, but players like Ram and a Buck that we're going to switch on to the Ram just really allows for a lot more simple and less time wasting with the sledge, and he'll switch on to the Ash eventually. So not that questionable. And they're going to change their overall lineup. This is relatively like we saw last time, but with the change onto that Thermite, they can only get 2 walls open. They don't have a Hibana, they don't have an Ace. They perhaps may have the secondary hard breach, but I lose my words. They completely switched 3 times throughout that entire 30-second prep phase on what they wanted to do. It really goes to show that not only is Team SESH an unorthodox team, but they're a very adaptable team. Every time they find new information, they completely change their roster lineup to adapt and give themselves the highest capability of winning this round.
You talked about you need to get that snowmobile wall last time around for Team SESH. That's where SSG were able to find a way back into this series, is on this basement site. So hopefully Team SESH can make that adjustment. There is no Tuberal this time around, so that's going to be something different coming in from SSGA, but still you got to worry about where those K claws are around them.
And again, it's these problem positions, these crosses that are set up from SSG Academy. They're well aware of their positions, but Team SESH, they don't exactly, or not necessarily are in the position, but they just don't really have the info. They don't have utility ready, and Focal just in probably the best position to counter this blitz.
Oh, here comes the kills. They're starting to ring on through. Team SESH is going to be currently up in man advantage, but they do not have their bullets to maybe try and make that initiation onto the rest of the site. Debates is not really anywhere near. He's pointing towards those staircase. Beautiful shot as he jiggle peeks the corner. Badger is down, and now that's going to give the signal for Debates to maybe worry about his pinch. Rampy in the background is going to find one as well. And it's just now man advantage for SSGA. Mike is going to get in on the action. The 3 newest players for SSGA clutching up, and now Neo left in a 1v3. Does find Rampy, and he knows where Debates is, but it doesn't matter. You can't shut down Debates. He works that staircase to perfection. And SSGA, they're going to take another basement site and tie this one up at halftime.
Yeah, that was a very big round for SSG Academy. Not only because were they able to tie up that half after having a very rough go-around, but they were able to go to a bomb site that they had played and won previously and read into the attack, realizing that it was relatively the exact same idea as last time. They tried to work that vertical a little bit, didn't put a whole lot of pressure, fell off, and then just started to try to funnel into that boiler blue position, and they just set up the crosses, played back, didn't get over-aggressive and overzealous, and just let Team SESH waste their own time, fall into the lines of sights, and eventually lose that round all on their own. Team SESH now, though, will be translating over to the defense, and a lot of the problems that we did see on the attack most likely will translate over, a lot of the problems that we saw on the defense will most likely transfer over to the attack. That's exactly what we saw yesterday with SSG Academy. And again, I've said this time and time before, it's not necessarily a problem with one side. It's just overall figuring out their brand new system. I talked about Rampy, but they also brought in a new coach. Again, just a lot for them to figure out and really just start to tune this new car that they're building.
Here we go, halftime. It's tied up. This isn't great for Team SESH if they want to try and get top 3. That SSGA is making a meal out of this one. Hopefully they can maybe turn it around for their sakes of qualifying into the top 3. For SSGA, it's pretty much just a win, and they're in for top 3. They don't need to worry about the fluffy aimers game. The other stream but for our last game today. But they kitchen hold, like you mentioned. Or not a kitchen hold. They're going to be starting off with the one below library. Yeah, it skips my brain at this moment. And this is where we saw SSGA struggle a lot, like you were saying. Can Team SESH maybe figure out the adjustments of how they want to control library upstairs? Get that going. That's one of the Brava drones down for Godville. So already a little decent start for Team SESH.
A very little questionable. Again, I use the word questionable because it's not necessarily bad and good if you can use it to your advantage. The hatch inside of Statue is not only reinforced but also electrified by the Cade. And in theory, this should try and let Team SESH to continue to hold this hatch reinforced for as long as possible. Urban is going to try to trick it. It does look like it may have been successful. A lot of times, the hatch is open, and it really goes to show that Team SESH are not putting a lot of focus on doing that traditional hold over by top Mez and inside of Statue, but this time around, they're going to actually extend around the map, and so far, getting Godville, that plan has been rather successful.
Godville drops Team Session up on the man count. It looks like a good start to life on their defense. But still, plenty of time in this one, just a little bit over a minute for SSG to try and figure something out. Here comes some play from the vertical, but Focal did spot the feet of his opponent, so he's going to hold on for just a second. Here comes a lion scan. It's going to force these players on Team Chess to stand still. 50 seconds now on the clock, and that hatch has been open despite the Cade claw being on it earlier. And ooh, Neo finds Rampy. It's now going to come down to a 3v5. Make that a 2v5. Focal will bounce back, but it's all down to Mike W and Focal to try and get this one going. And hold on a second. SSG, they might have found a way to get back into this one. They do still have the diffuser. Focal has it in his hand on the Hibana. But there's 30 seconds left. They haven't made too much progress over towards this site. Mike W entered the building. He's going to start doing so. Focal finds another. That's a double kill for him on this round. Mike W is getting a lot of pressure. Can he stay alive? He actually snaps onto a kill. It's all down to TK and what has been a crazy turn of events. But look at the time. There's 10 seconds left. SSGA, you've got to get in sight. Not going to happen. Mike W and Focal clutch up the duo. LeBron James, Steph Curry Olympic vibes as they worked that site perfectly to clutch that round out. And what looked to be a great defensive start for Team SESH was just a complete collapse.
Yeah, it really, again, I've talked about how SSG is a team filled with very individually skilled players. And every couple rounds, and again, we do see that opening where those last two players, maybe even last player, is put in a very difficult and uncomfortable situation. But you simply just need that player that goes out of their way to find those openings and shut down those players and create an opening in that round, to create an entryway into the bomb site like Mike W just did. And we've seen time and time again throughout various iterations of both SSG Academy, Binance Gurus, even on Aerial Rise, Mike W, when his teammates are not shooting and they need to rely on someone, he is that player that can prop up, that can really shut down those gunfights and really push his team up into the upper echelons of those late rounds. And it does work. Don't get me wrong. But when you do rely solely on the skill of one player, I guess you could say the opportunity that one player creates, as soon as that player is shut down, you start to wonder if you're going to be able to create opportunities without him.
Well, this is interesting coming in from SSGA. They're going to bring a Sens, Amaru, a Glaz. And this is, Sens does get some playtime on this site specifically. Oh, excuse me, bro. I'm just sneezing like a mudda. But I'm interested. Is Rampy going to be able to cause some chaos and give debates an opening to find some debate onto this Team SESH team? Now, it's just all about getting Focal in position to get him ready for an Amaru hatch if he decides to maybe use that as a way to get into sight, or maybe he'll just do it to get into the building or so. But 2 minutes on the clock. Debates is getting ready to get into position, and there comes the Amaru jump. Oh, how you doing, Focal? Just shuts him down. Spider-Man 2099 style coming through the hatch, and now it's SSGA. They're up in a 5v3, a 5v2. Jabates gets it done. He will be traded out, but the diffuser was going down. Rampy does hop off of it. Focal, once again, is going to get another kill. All down to Neo. V4. And a very quick take from SSGA off the backs of the Amaru hatch. Just completely, as soon as that happened, Team SESH, it's like the rug got pulled out from underneath them. They had no footing on the map whatsoever, and they were scrambling.
I'm going to theory craft here a little bit. You know, as soon as I saw Rampy joining SSG Academy, I was very curious. I was curious specifically what he was going to bring. And there was really, in my opinion, only two options. Either he was going to be that primary entry, maybe play a little bit of that lurk role, or he's going to fall back onto your primary shot caller IGL. And it's not exactly what Rampy has been known for, especially because he's played on teams with Canadian, with Moscow, who's fallen onto that primary IGL position. But the good thing about playing with players like that is you get to learn from them. You get that experience. You understand what it takes and how and what you really need to do as a teammate, as an individual player, to help your team and lead your team. And we've seen it like players with Packer, obviously not the exact same caliber and experience, but his run in Pro League, he played that, primary entry lurk role. And then when he fell back down to T2, he really took that shot call IGL position. And especially with that last round and the continued bomb going into the side, Rampy playing players like Capitao that has a lot of execution utility. In theory, I do think he is falling onto that primary IGL and shot calling role.
Probably going to be super valuable for SSGA. Oh, I think TK went for a spawn peek, and he was the one who got shut down. So SSGA, they're going to keep it rolling. And it was a great start for Team SESH. They went 2-0 early on their attack, and they've only seen one round since. It's been a 5-1 rout for SSGA, and they're going to go right on back to the site where they had previous success. Remember that, what was it? I think it was a 2v5 clutch that we saw on that opening attack from SSGA. So what's going to be the adjustment to Team SESH? And it was a spawn peek, I guess you could say, from TK, and immediately shut down. So now SSGA, they've got plenty of time to figure out where these 4 players are. Get your execute ready.
And we're just seeing Jabates taking space. This is exactly what they did. And Jabates, in a way, has really filled this role space. Wow, right next to Mike Titty W gets away with that kill. That is absolutely huge, but that trade back from Mike W is going to be absolutely huger, and now puts SSG Academy in a relatively continuous safe space.
Yeah, if you're SSGA, you're okay taking trades right now, Goose. You have the man advantage. If you want to go pound for, they're gonna go and end up winning this round. So here comes the execute on to the top floor, right above the site. Capitao trying to cause some sort of chaos. Still, no real jump in. Neo does have the goggles to see through any type of push. He's only got half of his goggles remaining, but good use on that one. And oh, he was not looking at the window, and a little loss in concentration. Rampy shuts it down. No player is on site. I mean, they surely know that he's over towards back bar. Lunar is in basement for the rest of it, and it looks like Jabates is aware of it. Jabates is gonna get a kill. Rampy as well. It's match point for SSGA, and they are 1 round away from securing top 3 and getting automatic qualification for the playoffs in XGS.
I'm really starting to feel a tone shift that SSG Academy has found, at least for now, for this one best of one that we find ourselves on Chalet, a system, a continuous idea that is working on the attack. Again, I've talked about my theory of, Rampy potentially being that shot call IGL position, but around that, the primary job of an IGL, of a shot caller, is not only to lead your team, give them a position to push, give them a goal in mind for the round, but also you have to enable. You have to make sure that every single player is doing their job. The lurks are setting up their flanks. The entry players are in position to get those picks. Then you find those picks for those entry players. It is a very taskful job. There is so much to do for that player. And I think if Rampy really just is able to sit back, okay, he's on blitz. Never mind, my entire point is out of the window. But again, he is in a position where he can lead the force and really call the entry into the round, into these entry points. And that's exactly what Blitz's job is.
Dude, Ramp's super flexible with his operator pool. So this is another point. Now he's on the blitz trying to be the initiator of this fight, as SSGA are 1 round away from taking this. A 7-3. I don't want to say would secure them. It depends on what happens in that fluffy game, the 2nd seed, but they are looking very well. It will secure them top 3, which at the end of the day is the biggest factor in this one. It looks like SSG are getting ready. Rampy is just about ready to hop down these stairs and get into action. Shots coming through from Focal. EMP in the hands of the Thatcher. Here comes the execute. Rampy's going to run right on through. He's going to dodge those EMPs, and he's going right on through the site. Focal right behind him, trying to give him covering fire. He's going to sit down, be humble. Another punch in the face. See you later, Lunar. Oh, and that one's down onto the floor. Mike W getting kills as well in the background. 4v2, 4v1, space. Last player remaining. He does find, I believe that's Gavi. He also finds Jabates. He's coming through the backside. This might be able to clutch, but the smoke, it's going to shut him down. He is on the Oryx, so he can maybe just charge right on past Rampy, but he's still Mike W. The hot hand, he's got 9 kills to his name. Space forces the Blitz to back down. 34 seconds until the round is over. Space has to find something. He's just running right on through. He gets flashed. Does he get the tackle? The blind tackle works, but the snowmobile wall is open, and Mike W is going to give SSGA top 3 and XGS GG's. And despite a great start for Team SESH in those opening rounds, SSGA, they quickly found the chemistry. They quickly found the momentum, and they never looked back. There were pop-off players all across the board, but the big eye catcher was Jabates, as he was the MVP. And Mike W, he was also up there as well. So this is a team that don't have those names like JetCon. It's now really only Focal and Vil, but it's still this dominant SSGA team, and they're showing it once again. And now as they head into playoffs and we look at this new team, they're causing some scary little worries for the rest of these teams.
Yeah, and I really just love that they really just have came back. Almost every single tournament that SSG Academy is in, they have a slow start, and then as soon as they start to get into that playoff mode, they start to ramp up. It's every single. We saw an element. A lot of people were saying, "Is this team even going to make it out of groups?" And then they were probably one of the best teams, eventually finishing at semifinals. But nonetheless, 4 rounds in a row, a complete flawless attacking half that is most definitely going to boost their statistics and boost their mental as well. They finally found a system, even if it's on a team like Team SESH, who now their hopes of playoffs are completely choked out. But we have another game ahead of us, I believe so. So we'll take a quick little break, and we'll see you guys soon for that.